of Maine.
Mr. President, shortly the Senate will proceed to consider 3 alternative proposals to provide much-needed funding to combat the Zika virus. I am deeply concerned about the rapidly emerging and evolving Zika virus, which poses a particular threat to pregnant women and can cause serious birth defects. To learn more about this virus and other public health challenges, I recently toured the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia, with my friend and colleague, Johnny Isaacson. I was deeply impressed by the team of extraordinarily dedicated public servants who work there. These scientists leverage an enormous range of knowledge to protect the American people, including through rapid response to infectious disease threats. CDC's experts told me that they called the mosquito that carries the Zika virus to be the cockroach of the mosquito world because it is so difficult to get rid of. This mosquito, Mr. President, can breed in water that fits within the size of a bottle cap. It is commonly found in the United States in areas like Florida and our Gulf Coast. There are now more than 1,000 cases of Zika virus in the United States and its 3 territories, including 2 laboratory-confirmed cases in the state of Maine. You know, earlier one of our colleagues showed a map of the states that are most affected by Zika, but the fact is, due to travel, there are confirmed Zika cases in virtually every single state. But of course, for Puerto Rico in particular, that area has been especially hard hit, with the number of cases soaring. These statistics are even more alarming when you consider that we've not yet reached the summer months when mosquitoes tend to be more prevalent. Recent studies suggest that Zika might spread across the warmer and wetter parts of the Western Hemisphere. As many as 200 million people in our country live in areas where the mosquito that carries the virus could potentially thrive. Now, you may have read what may seem like good news, that the Zika virus is asymptomatic in approximately 80% of those affected. But CDC recently concluded that the virus causes microcephaly and a range of other severe fetal brain defects. Americans are justifiably worried about the Zika virus, as the failure to prevent its spread could have devastating consequences for our families. In addition to the human and emotional toll, the Zika virus may ultimately cost the United States an astonishing sum of money when you consider that we already spend more than $2.6 billion per year on hospital stays related to birth defects. So the investment we are doing today is not only the right thing to do from a humanitarian and public health perspective, it's also the right thing to do from an economic viewpoint. In addition to these serious birth defects, the Zika virus has been linked to Guillain-Barré syndrome. That disease can cause paralysis and even death. Mr. President, it is imperative that we take steps to combat the Zika virus without delay. To that end, I support the bipartisan compromise agreement worked out by Senators Blunt and Murray to provide an additional $1.2 billion to combat the Zika virus, including $361 million for the CDC and $200 million for the National Institutes of Health. We can and we should do more to plan for emerging disease threats through the regular appropriations process so that we do not have to turn frequently to emergency supplemental funding. But in this case, Mr. President, the Zika virus is an imminent and evolving public health threat that cannot wait, that cannot be ignored. The CDC has a very specific plan to rapidly respond to this very real threat, including by developing diagnostic tests that will help us identify the virus and helping to educate providers and the public about appropriate prevention methods. I think it's important to understand that the CDC is the interface with state and local public health centers and agencies. So its role is absolutely critical in the education and prevention process. The National Institutes for Health is similarly prepared to conduct research into vaccines that might help us better prevent the virus and the conditions that it can tragically cause. But again, Mr. President, that requires funding. The CDC has sounded the alarm in its warning about a serious Zika outbreak in our country. It is essential that we devote sufficient financial resources to meet this new challenge. I'm convinced that today the Senate will do its part to deal with this serious threat to our public health. Thank you, Mr. President.